Hello and welcome to the Real Talk with the Unicorn. My name is Tatiana Lazareva. I'm a recruiter and principal at Unicorn Experts, supply chain and logistics recruitment firm. Today, I want to discuss with my guests the importance of women in supply chain and how we, as women, can help others to succeed and develop themselves. I know how crucial it is to have real-life successful cases in front of you when you feel stuck, when you don't believe in yourself, when you think that your goals are not realistic. So I'm excited to discuss this topic and celebrate International Women's Day together with my guests. The first guest is Lisa Fenton. Lisa is a certified supply chain professional, writer, blogger, mother, a successful supply chain manager who helps women come back to their supply chain careers, to supply chain professions. And I'm excited to learn from Lisa because she seems like a very good, positive person to learn from. And I invite you, dear viewers, to listen and ask your questions in the comments or connect with Lisa directly via LinkedIn. My second guest is Aseret Vazquez. Aseret is a wonderful professional. Aseret is Director of Supply Chain at Hafel, Canada. Aseret is a successful professional and a great example of how consistent growth across various areas of supply chain can bring you to the leadership role in supply chain. So Aseret, I'm eager to learn from you. I know how your colleagues speak highly of you. And of course, it's a great example for our viewers. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time tonight. And I want to start with this simple question. How did you get into supply chain career? And how did you see yourself when you started? So Lisa, let's start with you.
Sure. Thank you so much for having us this evening. So I had kind of a winding path. I graduated with a marketing diploma from Durham College, so it wasn't offered in college when I took my marketing diploma. There was no formal education for supply chain, but I did get certified later on. But I started off more so in the inside sales and customer service area, and I just was curious. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to be that person on the other side of the phone looking for the details of where my order was, when was it going to be there, and all of that. So I started taking supply chain courses through SCMAO Canada, Ontario division. And I just kept going along. As I grew in my career, I kept taking the courses, and eventually the designation takes about 3 years part-time, and you can do it while you're working. So that's kind of how I weaved my way into supply chain.
Great. I'm glad you mentioned that you were inspired by other professionals in supply chain. You wanted to be like them. You wanted to grow into those roles that seem to bring value to the company or make a difference. That actually happened to me as well. When I wanted to be that person who plans the truck, who decides what goes on the truck, who has all this intelligence about company sales or what's happening. So I understand that this is a very attractive career. If you envision yourself in business, supply chain is what you think of. Aseret, I know that you started your career in freight, in sales, and in logistics coordinator, and then 9 years ago you transitioned into purchasing. Can you tell me about how you started and how that switch happened between areas of supply chain?
Of course, Tatiana. Thank you for the invitation again. So I began my career 25 years ago, and that was after finishing university. I right away started a master's degree because I got a scholarship. So that kind of put me in the direction of supply chain and logistics, right? And I really fell in love with the industry. You can imagine 25 years ago, it was highly dominated by men. It was, as a woman, okay, you are doing these minor type of roles, but really not in the decision maker. And for me was keep learning from other women in that has like a manager positions and understanding, okay, where I want to be, and keep growing and keep learning. I think one key element is to have curiosity and never stop learning about what it's in the industry, what is changing, which, believe me, in 25 years, a lot of things change, right? Lisa, what do you think?
Absolutely. I've been in supply chain just over 14 years now and seen lots of changes, like you mentioned. And it's always a challenge because sometimes you are the only lady leader in the room, and you really have to just know your numbers, know your stuff. You really have to be on top of it because sometimes you are the only one in the room, and it can be intimidating, when you're amongst a group of gentlemen and you're on your own. So yeah, I can totally empathize and understand where you're coming from for sure.
It wasn't easy all the time. You are totally right, Lisa. Sometimes you can feel intimidated. I think at this point in my life, that's not the case anymore, and I'm very confident of what I know and what I can bring to the table. But at the beginning of my career, definitely that was the feeling when you walk into a room and you're the only woman there, and they look at you like, okay, what do you want to say? And you just have to prove again and again and again that that you can do the job, that that your numbers, what you're talking about. And then they look at you like, oh, okay, let's listen to what you have to say, right? So it's building that confidence, because at the end of the day, that is what is transmitted to the audience, to the people who is around you. And I will say it's very important. I was blessed with having really good mentors in my career, that always help you to keep growing and to keep working on the things that you want to you need to work, especially when you're looking after a role in leadership, right? So it's very important to have those role models that you will think, okay, what will this person do in this situation? And keep learning and keep moving forward with the experience that you gain over the years.
Aseret, Lisa, what you were talking about basically is visibility, being visible, being even in the room, because a lot of women are still behind their computers in their cubicles or at home, crunching the numbers, working with spreadsheets, submitting information, doing reports, but even if they are invited to the meeting, they think twice before they speak up. So what I think differentiates you is the confidence and, of course, numbers. Supply chain, I think numbers is our salvation, because if you have your numbers, you know your math, you have your data, you can rely on it. It's your best friend in the meeting room.
Yeah, I'd like to add, I think too, often we have to have that confidence, but I think we also have to take up our space. We can't sit at the table all kind of off to the side and not like being at the table. When we come to that table, we have to make a presence. And, gentlemen take up space. We don't typically take up a lot of space, but I think we need to take up more space at the table, and definitely helps knowing your numbers, but also I think speaking the language of your audience that you're with at the time. So if you're with a financial group, make sure you're talking in language that, means something to them. If you're with, the executives from the board, you're going to have a little different focus. If you're with production team, you need to key into what language are you needing at that meeting or at that table too. It makes quite a difference on top of your numbers.
You need to know your audience, 100%.
And communication, flex your communication, because in supply chain, as a recruiter, I can tell you that when everything is perfect on paper, we are looking for communication skills and ability, as you said, Lisa, to flex it based on who you are talking to, because in supply chain, it's also about influence and implementing change. Can you influence people? Will they trust you? Will they do what you ask, even if they don't report to you? So that's, Aseret, I know right now you work in an international setting. What helps you lead the change in your current company and as a supply chain director?
I will say, Tatiana, it's being confident of what you can bring to the table, but also don't be shy when you don't have all the answers. And know who you can reach out to help you to get that information on the, where you need to, that direction that you need to take. It's okay to make mistakes. And I think sometimes women, we have this idea that we need to be perfect all the time. And that's not the case, right? We need to allow ourselves to make a mistake, to find a way to resolve and move on. Like, don't beat yourself. It's okay. Just go to the next topic. There's so many things that I think sometimes we are very critical about ourselves, and men don't do that. They, just move to the next topic, and simple as that. So I think in that sense, we can learn about that. For me, it's, again, be surrounded by people that it's okay to have people who know more about certain topics. So don't be shy. Don't be, the ego doesn't need to be there to, I need to be the smart person in the room. I need the smart people around me, because that's going to make me strong within my team and work with my colleagues and my peers. So, just be yourself and surrounded with be surrounded by the good people that are going to help you to keep moving forward with whatever project you have in hand.
Focusing on the business, on the common goals, on development, rather than your own ego and being threatened by someone's knowledge or appearance or someone's visibility. So I agree with you. We have to learn from men how to articulate our ideas and influence the audience. Lisa, what do you think? Because you are a writer, you're a blogger, you very well connected person. What are your thoughts around influence and communication?
Yeah, so sometimes, like, from my experience, I've been like that lone person. Like, supply chain's always been myself and maybe one or two team members. So I think it's even more important if you're in a small team to seek out a personal board of directors, like somebody externally that is, fluent in finance or fluent in management or whatever area that you feel you need to add to. So that personal board of directors doesn't have to be, within your company. It can be within your global company, because I've worked at global organizations where, somebody overseas could be that key person on your board of directors and kind of be that mentor figure. So it's not always necessarily within your immediate working circle. I think it helps to get other industry input as well. So, yeah.
That's important to, again, get yourself visible, make sure that you are out there, people know your name, they know what you are responsible for. I really like that idea. And Aseret, I want to touch base, going back to your career. I see that every single move makes sense. You get recognized within your company, you get promoted, you change organizations. Were you always an ambitious person? Did you see yourself as growing into director and more senior positions, or you were just looking for a challenge? Can you tell me the logic behind your moves and what was your thought process when choosing certain roles and companies?
For me, always has been very important to share what I know, right? So you can do that from a leadership position, when you can share with others what you learned in a previous company, what experience you have from a situation or from dealing with a particular issue. So I always had very clear that was the path for me, and that's what I want to do. And for me, was always looking for that place that I will have that opportunity to keep growing. I was in one of the companies, and the lady who was my boss, I came with, just to give you an example, I came with an idea, we can do this, it's going to improve customer expectations and service, blah, blah, blah. And her response was, we have been successful for 20 years, there's nothing to change. And when I hear that, for me was like, this is not the company I want to be. Because if a company these days thinks that there's nothing to change, well, I have news for you. There's always something to change. There's so many things evolving and changing on daily basis. The new system, new technologies. We came from 3 years after a supply chain collapse, and do you think nothing changed after that? Everything changed, right? So for me, it's always being in a place where I can bring ideas to the table, and I have the support from my peers and the people that I report to keep moving forward. And so far, I have been extremely lucky with working in companies that I found that. So it's important, I think, to have a clear idea of what path you want to take. Not everybody needs to be into a leadership position and have people reporting to you, because that's a huge responsibility. But you need to have a clear idea of where you want to go. That, I think, it's the number one thing. When even if you are starting in your career in supply chain, or you are in the middle and you feel stuck, that you are not moving, where you want to go, where you see yourself in 5 years, in 10 years. And from there, start making a plan. What companies do you want to work for? Like, why? For what reason? It's what type of, how do you see the people that you're working for? What type of environment are you looking for? Once you have a clear idea of what you want, you start finding those opportunities, because you start connecting with those type of people that they're taking you in that road. I think we are super, super blessed with all the ways that we have these days to connect. Just having this opportunity right now to talk to you and talk to Lisa, right? 20 years ago, we didn't have the technology to do this. So now take advantage of all these platforms and all this technology that we have, and connect with the people that is going to help you to go into the path that you want to take.
Yes, Aseret, thank you very much for that, because being clear about what you want also helps you go through interviews, and it encourages you to ask good questions and screen company for whatever is important to you. You screen them for culture, you screen them for growth, for digitalization, whatever criteria or parameters you are looking for. It helps you position yourself as someone who takes his or her career seriously. So that's very important. Lisa, I was reading your multiple articles, and I noticed that how from one article to another, you go back to this thinking that train yourself for the demands of the future. Don't ignore technological advancement. Invest in yourself. Study. What can you tell us about trends in supply chain? How supply chain has changed from the technology or communication aspect?
So definitely, it's become more digital. Obviously, we're in a digital world, and part of the thing that I find sometimes people aren't thinking about is your digital footprint. So, you want to have that really good LinkedIn profile. You want to have the details and all the sections. You want to have a presence on the platforms that you're on. And, it doesn't hurt to be obviously human. We're all human, but you want to present that professional focus, because unbelievable opportunities come from LinkedIn. I don't know that people realize the power of that platform. And if you're on it, opportunities can take you to places you could never imagine. So embrace the digital technology. Don't have fear. I mean, I took a 12-year career break, stayed home with our 3 boys, and I found it was a very different technology-based world when I rejoined, but I didn't have fear. I just jumped in. I just learned. I found a company, thankfully, that had a great onboarding process, which is another huge thing when you're looking for opportunities. Ask about, what is your onboarding process? What do you help people with? What do you offer? Because it makes a world of a difference if you're not, if you're jumping back in, or if you've been out for, a short time for whatever, elder care or professional break or whatever gap you've had, and don't be shy about your gap, because you've gained so many skills during that time. People are often nervous to share about their gap, and I say you should be proud and share those opportunities and learnings that you've accumulated. So it's a digital world. Don't fear it. Jump in, get help if you need it, and always be curious. Like, AI is coming. What can you learn? And it doesn't have to be paid learning. It can be so much free resources out there, like podcasts, articles, books, online events. I mean, the opportunities are endless. So your training doesn't have to be expensive. That's a lot of people have this in mind, that they have to have formal, expensive training, and it's not necessarily always the case. So
And again, we're going back to speaking of perfectionism. As
yeah.
women, think if I get education, it needs to be solid education that I need to pay for, that will be recognized widely. Sometimes it's just putting your ego aside and learning from free resources, from other people, even learning if you're not getting a label or a diploma for it, simply to invest in yourself and excel even in your current job. If you are not actively searching for a job, if you can do the tasks that you do daily faster, more efficient, if you can help other people save time, why not? It's all about it. Supply chain is highly cross-functional. We can learn from so many people, and who knows? I've seen example how supply chain ladies would transition into marketing or finance, because they've been so actively involved into supply chain sales and operations planning, that they learned a lot about other people, right? About other career options. So definitely, I agree with you. And speaking of gaps, a lot of people are trying to hide it, thinking that there is something wrong. And I always say honesty is the best policy. Put your gap, explain the reason if you're comfortable, but don't hide it, especially right now when with talent shortage. I don't think gaps are that critical anymore. So, Lisa, how do you help moms come back to supply chain? What are their biggest fears?
It's obviously technology. It's kind of funny, because once you learn a couple different technologies, you have the ability to jump and a lot of people just kind of hold back, and these labels kind of hold us back sometimes. And so I think labels are a huge thing. I really don't care for them. I think it's all about, what you can bring to the table, your ability and your willingness to learn, like you say. Lack of fear is definitely one thing. So I think, yeah, you just have to really focus on your narrative, like your professional narrative. Speak the language of, your audience that you're with at the time. If, the interview, you may be with two different people. You may be with a manager, and you may be with a senior leader. So you have to be aware of, what is each of those individuals looking for, and how can you address the professional narrative, taking those skills that you have and converting them into, business talk. So kind of, again, know your audience, right? Know who you're with, and tailor your questions to those individuals. So do your research is huge. There's so much information out there, the company history, the people that may be interviewing you, the actual industry that you're looking to get into, what are the trends. It's just endless amounts of opportunities for you to present yourself differently.
And certainly, if those people who are taking gaps or moms that are away, they need that extra confidence boost, because they don't believe in themselves. They judge themselves harder than those that are interviewing them. So definitely that's a huge factor for that you help women to understand and recognize their potential, and that there is nothing wrong. Supply chain needs people, needs talented people. Aseret, I want to ask you, and to add to the Lisa's point about confidence. I see that you moved from various areas of supply chain. And oftentimes I tell people that it's sort of essential if you want to be an end-to-end supply chain leader. But their concern is moving to something new will be a pay cut. I will need to learn. So what can you tell those people who feel stuck in their role and they cannot let it go and move into something else because they don't want to start from the beginning? to start from a learning point?
I think number one, it's you need to change the mindset. If you're looking for a change, well, you need to change, right? So take a risk. The only way that you can win something is when you allow yourself to, you know what? I don't know. This is a new world. I jumped from freight forwarding and 3PL into procurement in a company that was doing in the food industry, which I knew absolutely nothing. And the first thing that I when I went to the interview, I told them, I was having the interview with the president of the company. I said, listen, I don't know anything about the food industry, but I learned very fast. And I can tell you what I can do for your supply chain. And I guess he liked the answer because they hired me. And I was, I really like the company. I learned a lot about the industry. It's a very interesting, the food industry. I'm not there anymore. I switched to something totally different. But it's, take the risk. You know, it's the only way that you can move forward. Don't be afraid. Yeah, maybe, you know, it's not gonna go everything perfect. But again, I always say to people, we're not trees. We're not just planted there to stay there and not move. It's okay to move and go and explore. Have the curiosity to learn about other industries. Needs to be something that resonates with you. If you're against, I can't come with an example right now, but if you're against certain type of products, well, don't go into an industry that produce those type of products. That's what I mean, right? But find something that passions, that is your passion, something that you're gonna enjoy, that you wanna learn. My experience working in the food industry now, I know how to read a label and what ingredients are good for you and what ingredients are not good for you. And, you know, it's a learning curve. Yes, 100%. But that's the fun part, that you're learning, you're using your brain, you're bringing something new to, to your experience. And now I jumped to 2 years ago, I jumped to another company and absolutely nothing that I was in my experience. And you know what? It's okay. I'm learning about the company and the products that we have, but it's take the risk. It will be my recommendation if I can.
Yes, thank you, Aseret. And also, I mean, as a recruiter, sometimes I have to select candidates that have the exact background my client is searching for. So those may be the jumps that you need to make on your own when you are your own cheerleader, right? And of course, there will be rejections. And having this mental toughness, that resilience to detach rejections from your personality. I mean, don't take them personally. Don't give up. And having you and Lisa today definitely reinforces that thinking, so that our supply chain viewers, especially ladies, they will continue fighting for the new role. They'll continue believing in themselves. Lisa, adding to Aseret's point, learning new things and supply chain being such a demanding area of business, sometimes it even generates that background anxiety, that constant checking phone. And as women, we are wearing multiple hats and we want to wear them perfectly well. We want to be a perfect mother, daughter, friend, volunteer, leader. What do you recommend ladies who are setting high expectations for themselves, who are struggling mentally to succeed in all areas?
That's a challenge. I think we just have to be kind to ourselves. I mean, it's a learning journey, right? Like Aseret mentions, it's continuous learning and nobody's perfect. I think I don't care for labels so much as that, like I've mentioned earlier. And I think we try to narrow our focus by putting a label on ourselves, and we really are more than just our titles, right? We're, like you mentioned, we're moms, we're, relatives, we're coworkers, we're community leaders. It goes on and on and on. We wear many hats, right? So I think being kind to ourselves, but having that vision, like Aseret mentioned, we can reverse engineer opportunities. And I think sometimes we don't think about that. Like when I went back to work, that was what I did. I reverse engineered my opportunities. I, did self learning and, stuck myself into a problem solving case situation and worked through, because there, at the time I was returning, there was no formal program. So it doesn't matter if there's no formal program, take it on yourself and reverse engineer, what you want. And you'll be surprised at the opportunities that come about. I think, be kind to yourself, visualize, be organized, but you have to put in the work too. It's not gonna just come to you. Like Aseret mentioned, it's, helping the people next to you and beside you, even if they're not in your department. And sometimes those create internal opportunities that you never thought would materialize either, because I myself moved up, 3, 4 times in the last company just by helping others in other divisions. So again, you can reverse engineer that opportunity that you're looking for.
Taking risks, as
Yeah.
mentioned, because risk means that you take responsibility for the outcome, for the failure, and things may not turn out the way you expect them to turn out. So being realistic, staying real, understanding your own potential, self-awareness, being honest with yourself and say, yes, I do have this weakness. Yes, I need to improve my public speaking, or I need to learn how not to take criticism personally. And that can initiate a lot of self-growth, because through challenges, through risks, we learn more about ourselves. And if we take that in the right way, without blaming other people, without blaming the circumstances, if we really take it as an opportunity to look inside ourselves and understand what's wrong with us, what are we ignoring, what are we lying ourselves about. We may think that we are great people, but if we ask people around us, everyone has to say something, right? So staying realistic and understanding that we all need to improve, I think that will help shed that ego a little bit. And I know that sometimes people are afraid to speak up or post because they're afraid of judgment. But essentially, in our days, everybody's so stuck in their social media and their own lives, nobody cares. And that's I think that's also, Aseret, I know that when in this position, and obviously before you were hiring people, what skills, soft skills maybe, are you looking for in order to build a strong supply chain team?
You know what I for me is extremely important is the attitude of the person. I can have the smartest person in the room and have someone with a really bad attitude, not willing to work as a team, not willing to help people, and that's not gonna help. But someone, who is, in terms of skills, okay, someone who is comfortable with doing some analytics, obviously that's heavy on our side. Being able to receive feedback and give feedback, how they communication skills is key, because you are interacting with other stakeholders, right? So who are your main stakeholders? It's in our case, well, it's going to be the sales team. Okay, how are you communicating with sales when there's when you need to give bad news, because, well, yeah, we have a shipment that is late, and so we need to let them know. So how you communicate that. So communication and the attitude for me are the two main things. But also I want to see the person who is curious about new things, wants to learn more, wants to, okay, why we're doing what we're doing. It's not, okay, I'm going to do this because they told me to do it. No, understand what's behind, what's the reason. And the most important is, okay, once you identify a process, don't be shy to say, hey, this process, I think we can do it better. There's something that we can, be more productive or do something in a different way that is going to give us better results. someone who is willing to take that risk and challenge the system a little bit. I love that. I love someone who wants to challenge the system, because that is it's so important to keep growing for the business and for the individual, right?
And because you're looking for a character, you're looking for someone who is not afraid. And I see that you're the type of leader who is welcoming that initiative, who is creating safe environment for people to make mistakes, to ask questions, and not being afraid of, will my question be considered silly question, or should I know that by now? I'm glad that you understand the importance of it, and that's how you create a dream team. And communication, Lisa, and I read it in your articles too, that supply chain has to be transparent, and communication is what makes it transparent and resilient. What COVID all taught us, that as long as we give heads up and provide solution, we can keep the customer, we can sustain the customer service rate. So definitely those are the things that are important, equally important to having advanced Excel, data management tools, or whatever other areas of supply chain are looking for. Lisa, I know that we are sort of wrapping up the conversation, and I know that this conversation should be helpful for those women, men who feel stuck, who don't believe in themselves, who may be new to Canada, for example, and their families are far away to give them that essential support. What can you tell professionals who question their abilities, who don't believe in themselves?
I think, like Aseret mentioned, it's the people around you. So, reach out to communities. There's so many associations out there. I mean, Supply Chain Management Ontario, APEX, ISM in the US, like there's endless amounts. Procurement community also on LinkedIn is a very good resource. And a lot of these associations have job boards, they have free networking events, they have activities, some even have mentorship opportunities. And so that I think it's really important to build that community. You may find people in there that will give you little bits of support in areas that you need, like setting up that personal board of directors. And those communities are so supportive, and they're large. Like in Canada, they're significant. Procurement Foundry's got a good base behind it. APEX, same thing, I believe. ISM in the US. Don't be afraid to go to the events and, ask questions. Link in with the moderators, link in with the other participants, because community is going to give you the support you need when you're looking for opportunities. So
thank you, Lisa. And with all these platforms, definitely professionals these days have access to way more support. They just need to look for it, and they'll find professionals who are so kind and willing to share their experience. And Aseret, what message do you have for professionals who want to succeed in supply chain?
I want to echo what Lisa mentioned. There's so many programs out there, some of them free of charge, some of them there's scholarship options there. I was part of a program that helped me when I came to Canada 18 years ago. And I was exactly what you're describing, Tatiana. I was in a situation that I was a manager in Mexico. I came here and, well, you don't have the Canadian experience. Okay, so how I overcome that blockage, right? Being here in Canada, no family, no friends, totally, new to the country. I was very lucky because I was working for the same company that I was working in Mexico, right? So from a friend, I heard about this program, and it was exactly for professionals that are not educated in Canada and you are stuck in your career. So I took the program, and I told at the end of the program, we were talking about what you gain after you taking the program, and my comment was confidence. That confidence that I lost at some point, that Jesus, I have a career in Mexico and I feel like I don't have that anymore. And that was my fuel to, okay, I have the same skills and I have more experience now because now I'm in this country. I am connecting with more people. I have more opportunities to keep learning how I can use that in my favor. So, you know, they give us some tools, and one of them was you need to to build a career plan. Where you want to be in 3 years, where you want to be in 5 years, where do you see yourself in 10 years? And you know, put a list of companies that really calls you, companies that you admire, that you want to work for, industry that you want to work for, things that you want to learn. And that start giving you some vision of, oh, okay, well, now I understand where I'm going. That for me was gold. And I can tell you that was night and day, because it gave me, again, the confidence that at some point I was like, okay, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing, right? So it's very important to reach out for those programs and people that can help you to start putting things in perspective, and you start taking decisions. But the most important thing is do something. Don't stay just waiting for things to happen, because nothing is gonna happen. You need to take action. You need to move. You need to connect with people, and that is gonna take you to the next step. It may not happen overnight, but that's okay, because there's a plan. There are things that you need to learn today in order to perform good in your next role. So it's a process. Let's put it that way.
Yes, I agree with you. And professional confidence, it doesn't come from nowhere. You cannot fake it. There is no such thing as dress this way, say these things, and you will be confident. It comes from inside. If you have the right mindset, if you have real life experience, things that you have done, things that you have tried, risks that you took, it creates the mindset that you don't need to fake anything. You will be saying the right things. You will be choosing the right things. You will have your own inner value and ethics that you follow. I agree with you. Action is essential. And for every person who is stuck, I want you to do something every day that you will be proud of, even small things. Reward yourself, recognize your wins. Don't ignore them. Your wins, they don't have to be huge to be celebrated. Professional wins, set very small goals, read one page or watch a podcast, do some online quiz or take a free tuition program. Do something and you will see how through action you start feeling better about yourself. And if you are losing confidence, honestly, your profession, what you do, is the #1 source of confidence. And then everything else will come together later. If you feel lost, go do your thing, excel in your profession, help people, and that confidence will pull you out of whatever depression or struggle you may be going through. So I want to thank both of you, Lisa, Aseret, for volunteering your time. And I wish you all the best in your careers. I wish you great people around you and success, support.